And many people think that Bitcoin, because it offers superior scarcity and functionality, it can actually do a lot more than be just digital gold. Companies like Microsoft, for example, are exploring how to anchor a digital identity system to the Bitcoin blockchain for security purposes. Not something you can do with gold. You might see Bitcoin not only surpass gold's total value, but surpass it by a significant margin because of all the things you can do with it. In fact, it is a protocol. Now, I mentioned earlier that we're not seeing Bitcoin used for payments, and part of the problem is people by and large are not getting paid their salaries in Bitcoin. But you may start to see the use of something called stablecoins, which we published research on, are widely used in everyday payments. Facebook quite infamously launched or tried to launch a stablecoin coming up on 2 years ago, June 2019, called Libra. It's been rebranded DM, and these currencies, these stable coins, typically have fiat currencies held in a bank account that are in reserve, underpinning the value of the digital token that is exchanged and transacted on blockchains. And you might start to see more use of stable coins for everyday payments. We're certainly already seeing people use stable coins in the DeFi or decentralized finance ecosystem today to earn very attractive rates of interest and to be used in borrowing and lending and other really interesting applications that are emerging in this whole DeFi space. And a quick advertisement, you can actually earn, just as a way of an example, at blockchain.com, 12% interest on your stablecoin deposits that we hold on your behalf and lend out to our borrowing customers. So stablecoins are, I think, one of the potential ways to get around this issue of how do we create need for people. People today really do need to earn more than zero or negative interest on their savings. Cryptocurrencies and stablecoins are offering a way to do that. There's also this question around financial exclusion and censorship resistance. So one of the most, I think, important features of a cryptocurrency like Bitcoin is its censorship resistance. Some politicians, for example, opposition politicians in some countries who are cut off from traditional fundraising mechanisms, they can still receive funds via cryptocurrency, or people who are restricted on trying to protect their wealth in countries that are seeing very high levels of inflation. Lebanon, Venezuela, cryptocurrency offers an alternative. And also the exciting thing about cryptocurrency for the billion plus people that don't have any form of identification around the world is you don't need to apply to use it. All you need is a computing device and an internet connection. So just to wrap up, let's talk about want and this final kind of
now I don't remember my password.
Issue around adoption and will people want to own cryptocurrency even if they need it and they begin to trust it. So a lot of people don't want to actually own cryptocurrency for various reasons. And partly it can be hard to access. If you look at the expense,
that password's not on that phone.
Difficulty of the four ways of acquiring cryptocurrency, you have to have some before you can start using cryptocurrency. You can mine it, which is incredibly complicated and expensive to do. You can try to get your employer to pay you in crypto. Good luck with that conversation today. I mean, it's, I think, becoming a little more common to receive your salary in crypto, but not that common yet. You can buy it, but it's expensive for many people, and you've got to have access to a crypto exchange, which is not always easy.
Hello.
And so the fourth way, and this is something our company has tried to work on,
I'm trying to get the app to load on my other phone.
What we call airdrops, where we actually give away cryptocurrency.
Or my computer, but I don't know the password that I changed yesterday.
But it is the least expensive way and the easiest way in our view to actually get crypto into the hands of more and more people. But this is a challenge and gets at part of the challenge around will people want to use this. There's inertia. There's also these environmental concerns. I'm sure some of you have heard about how Bitcoin is consuming a very large quantity of electricity as much as a small nation. That's all very true. A lot of questions around how much of that energy is renewable or stranded energy, natural gas, for example, that can't be really readily accessed in Texas. Being deployed and used.
Nothing can be readily accessed in Texas right now.
Particularly amongst millennials who are more sensitive on this issue, is a real issue and something that the cryptocurrency community needs to, I think, kind of work on getting better data around how much renewable energy is being consumed, and how cryptocurrencies like Ethereum, which is transitioning to a less energy-intensive proof of stake algorithm to secure the network, how those will help reduce the carbon footprint of cryptocurrencies. There's also this
I can't even find the browser.
How people don't like to think about negative events. And today, with Bitcoin being really largely used as digital gold, as a macro hedge against bad things happening in the economy, inflation, financial instability, etc., a lot of people don't like to think about these things. And so they may resist acquiring cryptocurrencies for those reasons as well. So just to wrap up, I just want to mention some of the key challenges that still remain for broader crypto asset adoption to get from 100 million to billions. There's 5 big internal ones. We already talked about the user experience, the user interface that needs to be improved. Holding private keys is not something that's intuitive or always easy for customers to do. That's something we know firsthand at blockchain.com. So there's a big education challenge there.
I have to have the
There's
Google Chrome
scalability, making
browser
these
on this
blockchain
phone,
networks
but
capable of handling Visa
there.
and beyond levels of transactions. There's fungibility and privacy, striking the right balance between a level of privacy that works for society and protects customers, but also helps law enforcement do their job. And then there's these 2 challenges that I think are going to be more perennial. Governance, how to manage these open source projects, how to make decisions.
I haven't even looked at one of his slides.
And also monetary policy. This is all still very much uncharted territory that we're in with cryptocurrency, and we don't know what the next 20, 30, 40 years will hold for something like Bitcoin. This is a very new instrument, unprecedented. Does it have the right monetary policy? Are there better monetary policies? These are all questions that the internal kind of cryptocurrency world continues to work on and wrestle with. But there's also these external challenges, some of which we briefly touched on. Education, huge knowledge gap that we need to address. Competition. There's a lot of talk about central bank digital currencies, how they'll copy a lot of the features of cryptocurrency in terms of being more efficient and cheaper to send, faster, more like email and text messaging than money today, which can cost lots of 10, 20% to send money to some countries, can take a week. We're going to see, I think, central bank digital currencies starting to compete more directly with cryptocurrency. There's clarity too, regulatory clarity. This is where we have made a lot of progress, particularly in some countries.
I can't even
like the United
see
States.
that slide. It's too.
But also we have proposed bans being
small.
considered in countries like India and Nigeria right now. And so there's still a need for more regulatory clarity to help cryptocurrency adoption. So that's all the that I had to present for you today. I'd love to, if we have time, to do some questions about anything we've discussed.
Let me try opening it on the other phone. Yeah, the guy that we didn't remember his password and was going to lose all that. Was it cryptocurrency? Because he didn't remember the key.
Questions came in.
He's about to lose how many millions of dollars? Because you can't recover it. Originals, covers, and holiday songs from Christmas.
How do you actually spend crypto? There's crypto debit cards that are being developed. And how can you justify day-to-day spending with the same vehicle others use for investment? So great question. So I think we're starting to see, I think, the very early stages of this kind of crypto debit card, credit card system kind of emerge. A number of companies have made some progress on developing these products and linking them to these attractive saving rates, these interest rates that cryptocurrency companies can offer because of the yields that are available through various lending and borrowing businesses. And I, for example, would be very happy personally holding my US dollars not in a bank account, but in, say, a stable coin that was linked to a debit card, which was linked to, say, Apple Pay, but it was earning an actual solid rate of interest, 8-10%, while it was waiting there to be spent. And the only friction I would think of is getting your, say, salary kind of converted seamlessly into that stable coin balance to earn that interest rate. So companies that can develop, I think, a really easy way, and you're starting to see some crypto companies apply for and be granted banking licenses. I think they're going to be in a good position potentially to have a really seamless debit card option for people, where instead of holding
incorrect password, let's try again.
That is earning a really good interest rate, perhaps a double-digit annual interest rate, and can be integrated with Apple Pay and spent. Will people start spending their Bitcoin? Tesla announced that they're going to start accepting Bitcoin with the $1.5 billion in Bitcoin they purchased.
Let's try this one.
I think a bigger question mark. Traditionally, people have not wanted to spend their Bitcoin; they wanted to use it as an investment. So I think that's a fair point. But as Bitcoin grows in value, and maybe the volatility is reduced, and the value becomes more stabilized, you might see people starting to use it more as a currency. But that's an open question. How can you trust Bitcoin? This is from Eduardo. Thank you for the question, Eduardo. How can you trust Bitcoin if there are some pools that group up and can reach more than 51% of the work and attack the network? Great point. Another reason why people may not trust Bitcoin. Another reason why people still think there's a role for gold. We wrote a research primer actually last year, looking at some of the gold-backed crypto tokens that have emerged, and we've launched one ourselves, kind of comparing Bitcoin with gold. And gold does some things that Bitcoin doesn't. Gold is physical. It's inherently resistant to something like a cyber attack in a way that Bitcoin isn't. It's also not subject to this 51% attack rule that's an inherent vulnerability in the Bitcoin blockchain, where, as Eduardo points out, if 51%,
just change it,
mining computing power, the hash rate of the network, so computing power, decides to censor transactions, or decides to wreak other havoc, double spend a transaction, etc. That would be, I think, very, very damaging to Bitcoin. We haven't seen a successful 51% attack yet, really, on Bitcoin or the very largest cryptocurrencies. Ethereum, for example, has not been subject to one of these, but ones in the top 20 have been successfully 51% attacked. Ethereum Classic, a fork of Bitcoin called Bitcoin Gold, was 51% attacked. So it is always a risk. And,
how do you know I'm not already famous?
A lot we could say about this risk. How realistic is it? There's a lot of things that need to come into play to actually pull off such an attack. But that vulnerability does exist. It does, I agree, weigh on people's trust of something like Bitcoin. But as Galena points out, this kind of attack, you'd have to procure billions in hardware. You would, once you launched an attack after making such an investment in that hardware, you would potentially risk the value of that hardware. So, Bitcoin largely uses application-specific integrated circuits, ASICs, specialized computing hardware, and would that hardware still have its value if you pulled off your attack? It could be a very expensive way to try to hurt the network.
Well, Garrett, I think that's the last question we're going to have to take. We've just run out of time, and we're going to keep going on the schedule. This is a very interesting presentation. If anybody wants to reach out, can they contact you some way? Will you be in the chat here for a moment?
Yeah, I'll stick around the chat. And also the presentation, as long as a lot more material is on the blockchain.com website. You can scroll down to the bottom, click on research. You'll see our investment thesis as well as the gold token primer and some other research we published. And we've got a lot of other information on the website if you want to follow up. And always feel free to get in touch on Twitter or you can email us. research@blockchain.com. We'd love to hear from you. But yeah, thank you very much, everyone, for listening. Thank you for your comments. I'll try to go through the ones that I didn't get to now and respond. And hope you guys have a great rest of the developer week.
Thanks so much. Appreciate it, Garrett. We'll be back in a minute with our next video from Microsoft.
Okay, that was the password that worked. But what was it? So I could put it in the computer. Oh, well, that's all right. I need to, what do I need to do? I need to go to this event. Let's enter event. What's with, all right. Enter event. And I missed Michael's Instagram. I'll have to ask him if they're going to replay it because they don't look live. Can Fun does not look live. Can Talks, yeah. I think I sign in. Okay. Let's try signing in here. And when I go to the other screen, I think you can still hear me on Haps. Correct or not correct? You can't hear if I play the sound through another screen on the browser, but you can hear if I go to a different screen if I'm playing it on my phone, right? Anyone? Bueller? Sessions. Okay. Let's see what's happening now. What's happening now is I've eaten organic gummy bears for breakfast. I need some coffee. It's cold and rainy, but at least my heat is back. All right. Main stage. Search sessions. Open talks. All right. I don't think this works well on my other phone, which I already know this, but what if I sign out and try to figure out what my password is? Keynote Microsoft, are we there yet? Apparently it did land on Mars okay. It didn't crash and burn. Let's see. What if I try it on this phone? Visit sessions. Pro session. Networking. Use the latest version of Google Chrome or Firefox. I don't even know if I have Firefox on this other phone. All right. Sessions. Let me click on that and see if anything happens. Oh my goodness.
Welcome, everybody, back to the main stage. I'm John Lepasky, executive producer here at Develop Week 2021. We have a great keynote for you this afternoon from Microsoft. Emily Freeman, Principal Cloud Advocate at Microsoft. She's going to be talking about, are we there yet? Emily, if you want to join us here on the main stage.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Yeah, no problem. Glad you're here. And we're looking forward to and excited about your talk.
Let me try
Awesome.
this again.
Thank you so much. And I enjoyed the previous talk. I learned so many things from Garrett. So thank you.
Welcome back.
So yes, I'm happy to be here and work with Microsoft. Thrilled to be sharing this, though I wish we could be together. When DevOps surfaced as a concept about 11 years ago, the economy was struggling. AWS was a toddler. Servers lived in office closets, and deployments were a monthly, if not quarterly, usually Saturday exercise. DevOps was a novel concept focused on breaking down silos and reducing conflict between developers and operations folks. It was simple, yet pretty difficult to grasp, understand, and more so to implement. A decade on, I find myself like a kid in the backseat of a long road trip, asking, are we there yet? And even if we were, how would we know?
Settings.
I'm Emily Freeman. I'm the author of Devops for Dummies, and I am obsessed
Password.
with helping engineering organizations create cultures in which diverse, collaborative teams can thrive. You can snag a copy of my book on
Gas explosion in the Bronx.
I would love to hear what you think about it. Change comes at you fast. Think about it. The speed of change for our technology and tooling is orders of magnitude bigger than the speed of evolution for our brains. Tech isn't the challenge. At least I don't think so. I think we are. And that's why DevOps excites me. Because despite what some vendors will tell you, DevOps isn't just focused on tooling. It's really about people. DevOps has transformed the way engineering teams collaborate to create and ship software. It's a broad and encompassing philosophy that inspires diverse implementations across the industry. I define DevOps
that's
as
not right.
an engineering culture of collaboration, ownership, and learning, with the purpose of accelerating the software development lifecycle from ideation to production. DevOps can enable you to reduce interpersonal friction, eliminate bottlenecks, improve collaboration, increase job satisfaction through engineer empowerment, and accelerate team productivity. I don't have a DevOps prescription for you because none exists. DevOps is a philosophy, one that prioritizes people over process and process over tooling. It builds a culture of trust, collaboration, and continuous improvement. As a culture, it views the development process holistically, taking into account everyone involved. And that's developers, testers, architects, operations folks, security engineers, infrastructure. Everyone has a seat at the table. DevOps doesn't put any one of those groups above the others, nor does it rank the importance of their work. Instead, it treats the entire team as critical to ensuring that the customer has the best experience possible. Devops evolved from Agile. In 2001, 17 software engineers met and published the Manifesto for Agile Software Development. We should publish more manifestos. This new workflow was a response to the sheer frustration and inflexibility of teams working in a waterfall or linear process. Working within Agile principles, engineers aren't required to adhere to original requirements or follow this sort of linear development workflow in which one team passes work to the next and on and on and on. Instead, they're capable of adapting to the ever-changing needs of the business. And honestly, sometimes the changes of our tooling and the technology, the possibilities. There were 12 principles in that manifesto. And although it may seem lengthy, I'm going to take just a few minutes to list them out. I think it's really important to remember where we came from and to realize that some things that we take for granted were at some point groundbreaking. The first principle was to satisfy the customer by continuously delivering beneficial software. Then accept and welcome changing requirements along the process. Deliver working software frequently. Enable developers and business stakeholders to work in daily cooperation. Trust your engineers to get the work done. Convey information face to face. It's not possible right now, but video calls do a pretty good job. May I recommend Teams? Realize that working software is the most important measure of success and progress. Maintain a constant pace of work. I like to think of this as, it's a marathon, not a sprint, despite us using that language. Strive for technical excellence. Simplify requirements and features. Use those user stories and really break down the big features into small components that are easily executed. Allow teams to self-organize for the best product. In other words, allow your engineers some flexibility in where they report and what teams they sit on. And finally, regularly reflect as a team on how to become more effective and adjust behavior accordingly. What we think of now as post-incident reviews, sometimes postmortems, though. That word is a little macabre. No one died, hopefully. So, does anyone in this room feel like we're all nailing every single principle of Agile?
Oh, yeah. I meant nailing every single principle every single day.
And I don't necessarily think that's something to be bummed about or feel ashamed about. If anything, I think it shows just how difficult the problems we're trying to tackle are to actually solve. This is hard. Although Agile revolutionized software development in many ways, it failed to address this inherent conflict between developers and operations specialists. Developers being the people who typically coded those features, and the operations folks traditionally who deployed and then maintained that software going forward. Silos developed around technical skill sets, specialties. Developers still handed off code to operations folks when they were done to deploy and support. So in 2008, Andrew Clay Schaefer and Patrick Dubois actually talked about frustrations and this constant conflict between developers and operations engineers. And together they launched the first Devops Days event in Belgium to create a better and more agile way of approaching software development. This evolution of Agile took hold, and DevOps has since enabled companies around the world to produce better software faster, and usually cheaper. It's not a fad. DevOps is a widely accepted engineering philosophy. A little over a year ago, back when we could get together, DevOps Day celebrated 10 years in Ghent, Belgium, which makes DevOps about 11 years old. I can't believe that. DevOps is a tween. And yet a decade on, and we're still very much on the journey. Most of us are at some phase of DevOps adoption. And whether you're a beginner or leading your team to high performance, there are a few key principles that I think still apply to every team. These aren't actually guesses or my gut feeling. We have data to support our theories on the ability of DevOps to accelerate your team's velocity. Some of the only data we have on the efficiency of DevOps comes from the annual State of DevOps report. Nicole Forsgren founded Dora, which was later acquired by Google, and has since moved to come into the Microsoft ecosystem to be the VP of Research at GitHub. I actually went back to the 2014 report and looked at the top predictors of high performance. Dora found there were a few key things that contributed to high-performing organizations. The first was peer-reviewed change approval process. Version control for all production artifacts. Proactive monitoring, getting visibility and telemetry into your systems. A high-trust organizational culture. Do you actually have that trust with your teammates?
Oh my goodness.
A win-win relationship between devs and ops. 2014 also found that high-performing organizations were deploying code 30 times more frequently, with 50% fewer failures than their lower performing counterparts. That's significant. Fast forwarding to 2017, the key findings were really focused on transformational leaders who shaped organizations' culture and practices. High-performing teams achieve both faster throughput and better stability. Automation is a boon to all organizations. Loosely coupled architectures assist in continuous delivery. We're really looking at microservices with that, distributed systems. And lean product management drives higher organizational performance. In 2017, high-performing teams deployed on demand, had a lead time of less than an hour, recovered from failure in less than an hour, and had a low change failure rate, which is just a really fancy way of saying their code stopped breaking every time they hit production. So that's the past. But what about now? Unfortunately, due to COVID and all the curveballs it sent us, Google and Dora weren't able to release a 2020 State of DevOps report. Puppet did put together a report, and it is available on their website. But despite it being a year older, I find that the data provided in the State of DevOps report is higher quality and the analysis to be a little bit more relevant to most organizations, which is why I chose to use it. The only major shifts I've seen through COVID in DevOps over the last year and change have really been adopting a remote-first organization. This meant a much higher reliance on asynchronous communication, as well as video conferencing and chat tools. And I've also seen a sort of instinctual pullback on some of the DevOps fundamentals. This is especially around those sort of small, frequent, incremental deployments and experimentation. Whenever people get stressed, they tend to take fewer risks. And if you haven't noticed, we're all a bit stressed. The findings from 2019 are still extremely relevant and helpful. Elite performers deployed multiple times per day, had a short lead time, were able to recover from failure in less than an hour, and had a change failure rate of 0 to 15%.
It's just leave that work with the bottleneck rather than handing that over. The issue with that, of course, is
Damn it! That's the wrong talk. Sorry, guys. How do you enter the show up incentive drawing? Okay, is anyone listening on Habs? I don't think that when I had it playing on the computer, I don't think you could hear the speaker when I was playing when it was playing through the computer, only through the phone. But I was trying to do this, look up the game codes for the you can get an Amazon gift card or you can enter to win things, but what does this say? Click here for what? I can't click here for what? Click here. I'm going to click there and see what happens. Okay. I know that, okay. I know about the bonus challenge. I know about the open talk challenge. I know about the expo challenge, but I don't know how to enter the show up, hello, your upcoming events. I don't know how to enter the show up part. And I don't know how to get back to where I was. Wait, let me click on this. I don't think that's... I'm going to try that, but I don't think it's going to work. I'm Hello, I'm going to I don't know how to do this. Lobby. Let me go to the lobby. My head is throbbing. I need some coffee. And I need to put my compression stockings on. Let's see. Explore booths. Read the attendee conference schedule. Don't forget to visit the virtual expo. Networking. Overall tips. Did they give me a press pass? Let me look. Let me look under sent. Where is sent? Inbox sent. Wait. Not move one conversation. I don't want to move a conversation. Sent. All right, well, they didn't reply. All right, starting in 6 minutes. Let me try this. Expo. Main stage. ATTENDEE. I'm confused. It says it's starting in 3 minutes, but I'm still confused. Registration and expo and events. Is anyone on HAPS right now? The award ceremony starts in, where do I enter to, wait, let's network. It's not letting me type the word attendee. Drawing. Should I turn my Wi-Fi off? Would that help? Did anyone answer on there? No. When is the drawing? All right, should I start typing? I did, yeah. I typed and it can't see the reply. I'm going to turn off my Wi-Fi and see if that helps. Done. Start typing. Polls. Chat. Oh, I'm going to hide. Okay, now where do I go to enter for today's attendee drawing? I don't see a reply. Hi, help desk. Go ahead and head over to the Developer Week main stage. Then what? Okay. On the left-hand side of your screen, go ahead and click the lobby. I am there on my computer. So then what? What does that say? Lord of the Rings. Did the stream start? It doesn't appear to be playing. No, not yet. I've invited you. Where do I enter? Doesn't play for me either, so I guess it hasn't started yet. What does that say? What is that? One message. What prize are you referring to? It's 2 days. Okay, if anyone's listening on HAPS, can you hear me and the speaker or just me? Parmesan RC gummies. Okay. All right, I'm coming back and checking on HAPS. Is anyone here? Okay, the person that can you hear anything? If it's playing through my computer, I don't think that you hear the sound from the computer, do you? You only hear me. If anyone's here and can type in the chat and tell me if you can hear me and the speaker or just me. Hello, can you hear the speaker or just me? Wait, why can't I hear him? 30% off? First, okay. All right. I'm gonna check my feed. I'm gonna check my apps because I don't think that you guys can hear. Is that literally? Hold on a second. All right. Ow. Why did the sound stop? Okay, It says winner, but why did the sound stop? Haps, are you there on Haps, anyone? Why did the sound stop? New message, that's, should I refresh it? Because I don't, like, what happened to the, what? All right, I'm going to check my Haps feed. Community cultivator. Open next week's email. Log in tomorrow. Go live next week. All right, so 8.3K views, 4.1K subscribers, 102 subscriptions. How many people viewed my broadcast last night? 700, it's up to 713. Wow. All right. All right. Let me see. You can't hear, can you hear me? All right. All right. Can you hear me? Hello? Can you hear me, anyone? Oh, sorry. It was muted. Can you hear me now? Can you hear the speaker? Can you hear me? Okay, let me check the trending board. Am I trending? Yes, I'm on the trending board, but I still don't know if you could hear me. All right, let me check it again. Okay, hello. Can anyone, okay, I'm unmuted now. Can anyone hear me? Let me check how many windows are open here. Oh, I opened Postmates. All right, can you hear me? Should I shut this down? Like, let me close Postmates. Can anyone hear me? Is it muted? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? No. All right. All right. Hello to the viewers and the replay viewers.
See, now I hear feedback.
But a minute ago, I didn't hear anything. And if I turn it down, the problem is,
Okay, I'll try and explain this without yelling.
if
If
I play
the
the
speaker
through
through
my
my
computer,
computer,
you
you
can't
can't
hear
hear the speaker,
even
even
though
though
I
I
can.
can.
But you
But you
couldn't even hear me, which
that
doesn't
doesn't
make any sense. Let
Let
me
me
mute
mute
something.
All right, is that better? Yes, that's better. All right, so I know there were 21 people that stopped in. And again, we're going to try not to yell. And I did light a yard side candle for my father, but it is bothering my throat. But I'm reformed, and I'm not going to wait till it goes out. And yes, I hear an echo. But if I mute the computer, well, if I mute the computer, then there won't be an echo. But then when the speaker starts, I won't hear them either. So I'll just I'll just deal with the echo for a minute. So you're supposed to let a yard side candle burn out. It's for the Hebrew lunar calendar. All right, this is really fucking annoying. I'm going to mute myself. Sorry for the language. You guys didn't hear a word I just said for the last 5 minutes because I muted myself instead of the computer, so it muted. I'll tell you the story later.
Johnson, special guest would be right here.
You can listen.
Corey, can you say last name so I don't sorry, it's Virak. And they're gonna
I'm gonna hang one of these up.
grew.
So you guys were muted again.
Although what I have seen as a common theme, and I think it benefits us anyway, is those companies that took the time amidst being so separated and kind of, and disparate, to focus on, the well-being and the welfare of their employees, maybe had a chance to reassess their corporate culture.
Can you hear anything?
And what was important, and to try to kind of fill the gaps that the personal interactions were not able to, take the place of. Those companies, I think, really probably emboldened and are going to be ready for the next stage of their growth and their scale. But we lean pretty hard on our engineering and development team, and they were able to get quite a bit done. Sales was able to pivot quite a bit too, but they remained really, really highly productive.
Yeah, I will call out that I think a thing that the developer community has done, especially in the past, call it say 10 years, that has been really helpful is open source, right? So open source is distributed by nature, and it is asynchronous by nature. I think a lot of people have a lot of experience doing that, and so I think that's helped our industry much more than other ones, like sales, for example. And it's interesting to see the sales. So at Rollbar, we hired a VP of sales, and his strategy was, before the pandemic, was to hire regional salespeople, right? That's just what you do. And now we're all online, right? So you have to kind of reevaluate that. But I think there still exists some value to having, regional people reaching out to people near them geographically, because there's a lot of things in the nuances of communication that you really have to lean on heavily. There's jargon, there's common ground, there's common knowledge, and so I think that's more important than ever.
Yeah, it's more than localization or translation. It's cultural communication.
Totally.
Right. I think, we're talking, COVID and the pandemic has been, I think, one of the biggest challenges for dev teams, but all sorts of teams. What I want to talk a little bit about next is, what are some of those specific challenges that you guys see happening today for dev teams that don't particularly have to do with the work from home or the remote work or distributed work piece? Whether that's something like
I'll check my other
that
account.
we're seeing now, learning programming languages,
Periscope's not
or
gonna load either.
just the
Let me check
the speed and pace of how languages are changed. Whereas years ago, if you learned C++, you could just keep that for years and just go from there and never worry about doing anything else. That doesn't seem to be the case these days anymore. When you guys are looking for putting dev teams together, looking for good, robust engineering organizations, what do you see as some of the biggest challenges of putting those teams together?
First, I would like to just say that COBOL engineers are still incredibly well paid, so you can still find something and stick with it. But yeah,
that's very, very true. Yeah.
Yeah, we have to keep learning.
Why isn't
I think that's really interesting with that. When I'm hiring, I like to look for curiosity, a sort of willingness to learn.
Why isn't it sharing to
not feeling embarrassed or ashamed if you don't know something. I always joke it's idiot as a service. It's like, ask the dumb questions. We're all figuring this out.
2 hours ago. Okay.
For me, I think a hiring manager can limit their pool by only looking at certain people who have a lot of experience in a particular stack. And I'm always encouraging people, think a little bit outside the box. If they've learned one language, you can learn another, especially if it's in the same sort of style.
Let's see if I can hear it now.
The curiosity that you mentioned, Emily, is one of the top things that I look for in any engineer, really. I call it the tinkering mentality. I want somebody who's going to pick up something, pick up a puzzle and be like, that's really interesting. So, one of the interview questions that I'll usually ask in the later part of the interview is, what are some of the things outside of work that you really enjoy doing? And if one of those things is learning something, right? Like I'm learning Raspberry Pi, or I'm putting together a bicycle that I've never done that before. I'm learning welding. That mentality, I think, is more important than ever. because the amount of learning that you do on your own, as opposed to amongst other people.
There's no sound.
Much higher.
So Corey, my son is 12 years old. He's a Raspberry Pi freak, and I'm going to introduce him to you in about 4 years, and we can make the decision if he goes to Roll Bar or college.
Awesome. You can teach me a lot of that.
If I don't,
He's teaching me a lot too. That I see that as well as a really, really critically important part